Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's expert chat. I'm Ginny from the Understood team, and today joining us is pediatric occupational therapist Keri Wilmot. Keri is also a toy specialist. Hi, Keri. How are you today?
I'm great, Jenny. How are you?
Okay, I'm fine, thank you. Keri's going to be speaking with us today about a topic called Backpacks and Beyond, how to get your child organized for the new school year. So as we wait for the new year to come upon us, we do know that some organizational issues do stand in the way for some of our kids. So Keri is going to help us navigate these first days and hoping that we can get a smooth transition back into the classrooms. Keri, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. My name's Keri Wilmot. I've been a pediatric occupational therapist for 17 years. So I've worked with kids in their homes and the school systems that are a variety of ages from newborn up to the age of 21. So I have a lot of background working with kids in the school system, as well as working alongside with parents, kind of feeling some of those same the same difficulties that they're sharing with you. I'm hearing from them during their therapy sessions as well.
Great. Okay, and I love working with occupational therapists. I was a teacher for many years, Keri, so I love the work you do.
Thank you.
For our viewers, there is a chat box at the bottom of your screen, and Keri will be taking your questions as we go through the chat, so please feel free. You can ask your questions anonymously or use your name. What's important is that you give us some details like your child's age or grade. That's always helpful. So we can get started, Keri, and let's start with a very basic question. Why is it that some kids will struggle with staying organized while others thrive on staying organized? I know some parents that have one child that's extreme in one way and extreme in the other way.
And I think just like how everybody in the world is different, people have blue eyes and brown eyes and blonde hair. I think, everybody's makeup is different essentially. So there are just some kids who are born to be more organized and other kids who really do have other disabilities that might impact their ability to be able to stay organized. For whatever reason they try, it's not that they don't want to be organized. I think they want to feel success, but for whatever reason, their learning disabilities or their attention difficulties really stand in the way of them being able to devise a plan and stick with that plan.
So how hard should a parent be on a child that really is very disorganized? I mean, how much can a parent realistically expect from a child?
I think kids are capable sometimes of doing more than we might think that they're able to do. But on the flip side, I think, the way school is these days, I think kids are also asked to do a lot more. And that's where the organization piece really comes to be important because kids are really capable of doing some basic things. They should be at the preschool kindergarten level. They should be getting up and getting dressed and, getting themselves ready to get their backpack and go out the door. But once they get older and they have, lots of little bits of paperwork to take home with them and their lunch and all those other things, there's just a lot of information for them to organize. So it can be, I think that it's good to have set the bar and have an expectation and then kind of determine from there what expectations or can your child do more or do they just need some basic organizational strategies that they can follow through with.
Right, right. Okay. Keri, we just had an anonymous question. This viewer has two teenagers with ADHD, and organization is horrible for them. Those are her words. So, for a teenager, how does the situation change? Are there different things that you would do for a teenager to help them along?
I mean, I think the one benefit of having a teenager, depending upon what they have for technology, is that they are old enough usually to be able to understand technology. And with a lot of the apps on smartphones, there are some embedded ways that kids can use their devices in a good way that maybe alert them to, at the end of the day, they can set an alert that says, make sure I have this book, and this paper, or remind them, did I talk to this teacher about this project that I need to complete. So, I think, from a technology perspective, then that is certainly one way if they're capable of doing that. There's some great apps and reminders. I tend to be one of those people that's like an old school, like assignment notebook type person. I think, that's just how I was, when I was a kid, that's what it was when, that's how I got organized. And to this day, I have a smartphone. I still carry around a paper calendar where I write my clients in. I think it's just easier for me to visualize it that way. But I think, for some kids, maybe it is still having that assignment notebook. But at the end of the day, they really need to, be accountable for kind of what they're doing. As a teenager, you can't be the mom every day saying, did you get this? Did you get this? Did you get that? So I think it's important to find those strategies that can work for them.
Okay, that's great, and that's an important thing to note. But what about for the younger child, Keri? What are some must-have supplies for a child that has poor organizational skills?
I find using a lot of visuals and a lot of pictures. So while people might think, I got to go get my school supply list and I need to buy X, Y, and Z folder or this specific thing, I think sometimes it's not just about having the right folder or the right backpack or the right binder. It's really just having a good organizational system that a child can relate to. So, maybe they have a page that's like a schedule that has pictures of everything that they need to have in their backpack, or a checklist of what they need to do to get out the door every single day before they hop in the car. Do they have their lunch? Do they have their backpack? Is their homework in their red folder? So I think I tend to use a lot of pictures, whether it's a picture that you can take on your smartphone or a picture that people can kind of Google cut out and just kind of laminate to a piece of paper. I think there's some really creative ways to help kids get organized that are pretty cost effective.
Keri, my own son, who had some organizational issues, wound up using, and I think it was at the recommendation of his occupational therapist, an accordion folder. And everything went in there, and even books, notebooks, everything fit in there. And that was something that he chose to continue. Very often, you'll give a kid a suggestion and they'll use it for a while, but he really took it upon himself and throughout school used it. So I thought that was a great suggestion. That was a good tool for him.
And those are nice because it's one thing that has different compartments that are inside. And then you can tab and label and again, use your pictures to kind of identify in that area what goes where. So I think that's a great suggestion. I find, I even went to go buy my son's, he's going to be in the first grade. I went to buy his school supplies last week and it was buy 4 different colored notebooks and 4 different colored folders. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where are they going to put all these things? But I think it is important. The color coding is also key, kind of thinking in terms of what can you pair together so that they know and that they learn that, my literacy journal is always in the red folder or, helping them organize that way.
Can you talk a little bit more about color coding systems, Keri?
Yeah, I think color basically is just a lot of what a lot of teachers do. And I've gotten a lot of these strategies, honestly, just from having and, met a lot of teachers that are really organized. But I think it just using the colors kind of helps kids identify with a certain subject. So maybe, their ELA or literacy notebook is always the red one. Their science one is always the green one. So that they know when they're kind of searching through their desk, that, it's not 4 yellow notebooks that they have to pick from and then decide from there, red. They learn to associate the theme with the actual color.
And do you have any feelings about, we were talking about, all these different folders and notebooks. Is one large binder ever better, or maybe a parent could talk to the teacher about allowing their child to use one large binder rather than managing several notebooks?
Yeah, and I think at the middle school level, that usually comes into play a lot, especially for kids that are maybe switching classes or heading back to a locker. They're going from one location to another. Certainly one binder can be really helpful if they're color coding inside the binder. They have their one binder. Maybe they have 4 different colored pockets or folders inside their one binder that also kind of helps give them that organizational system inside so that they don't have to worry about, did I leave my paper in my locker? Did I leave something somewhere else? That everything kind of goes back into that one central location before they pick it up and move along to the next class.
Okay. And speaking of moving along, Keri, the title of our chat today is backpacks and beyond. So I know over the years there's been a lot of controversy about backpacks and the weight that kids are dragging around with them.
Yes.
What are your feelings about backpacks and kids and sizes?
Yeah, I mean, backpacks are great. We all, I would prefer a backpack that has two straps. Definitely make sure that your kids have both straps that are secure over their shoulders. They like to kind of throw one on one side and sling it around, but you definitely want to make sure that it fits properly, and that the straps are also adjusted to be tighter so that the backpack is kind of sitting squarely on their back. A lot of times I see kids with overfull backpacks, and then the straps are not appropriately adjusted, so they're really carrying around a lot of weight. When you think about even what it takes to carry around their lunch and a binder and a couple of pieces of paper, it's still a lot of weight for a little kid. So you want to just make sure that they're carrying that weight appropriately. Over time, kids can start to have back issues or pulled muscles or have kind of just some discomfort from not really wearing their backpacks appropriately. Definitely, look at the backpack, make sure that it's, not wearing over time. Some are great. They'll last a long time. And also look for ones that maybe have some embedded pockets, but not too many pockets. You want to have spaces for things, but not so many spaces for things that kids can't remember where they put something. And I know I lose my laptop cord in my backpack all the time. And I'm like, it should be here, but it gets lost somewhere in the shuffle.
Right. I don't know if I've been out of the classroom for a couple of years, but I remember one particular year there was a fad, I guess, or whatever, with the backpacks on wheels. All of a sudden, all the little girls were coming in with these.
Yeah.
What do you think about those? Are those more of a help or a hindrance?
No, I think kind of the theme today, Jenny, really is that there is no one size fits all, right? I mean, we have so many different strategies and there's so many different options. And, for a child who is weak and can't really carry their backpack on their shoulders, or it's hard for them, then certainly a rolling backpack is a logical, alternative. I know some schools like them. Sometimes it really just talk to the child's teacher. Sometimes it comes down to maybe their cubby space doesn't accommodate it, where like a regular backpack, you can, put them in, push them in, and they, shut a door or whatnot. So it really just sometimes comes down to, whether they fit in the classroom or not. And maybe that's why that particular school or teacher has said that they would prefer a backpack that you wear versus one that you roll. But, to me, I feel kids really just need to be invested in their system. And if there's a rolling backpack with Superman on it and they're motivated to keep that organized, then go for it.
Right. There's a lot to consider. Great. Keri, you participate often in our Understood community. For those of you that don't know, we have an online community which you can join at u.org/community. So we have some questions that definitely, jive with our topic today. I'm going to read a couple of them. One parent says that her fifth grader has desk issues, and the teachers complain every year that he shoves all his papers inside and then he can't find anything when he needs it. And then adding to that, it makes him frustrated and upset because the whole class is working, he's still looking for the paper, and I can kind of almost feel that happening. So what can the parent do to help her kid, besides just saying over and over to, manage his desk better? Should the parent meet with the teacher? Are there some strategies you can think of?
I think if the teacher is kind of bringing it up as a valid concern and it's something that they continually keep bringing up as something that's impacting their academic performance, it might be worth having a conversation over and maybe kind of, looking at whether or not there needs to be, again, that binder or those folders kind of set in a specific spot in that side of the desk. Are all the pencils and the pens, can they be put in a pouch or can they be put in a box that opens and closes? I think really, there needs to be that external organization system that the child can follow. But it's like any other organizational system, even ones we have in our house. We organize our pantry, and then months later, everything kind of gets disheveled. So you really do have to kind of schedule in those times where kids go back and they're cleaning out their desks and they're taking out all the unnecessary things that they don't need. So maybe, that teacher can remind that child to, every Friday before he goes home, take everything out that you don't need anymore and let's start fresh, so that when you come back on Monday morning, you can start fresh with a clean slate and everything's kind of put back together again. And some kids just need more reminders to have those, organizational breaks a little bit more frequently.
Right. And that's a really good idea to have one day a week for cleanup day. And, you just hope the teachers kind of understand also that this is particularly challenging. It's not that, he's just a sloppy kid, so.
No, and I doubt that he's the only one, because, I go into classrooms all the time and, I peek around, and it's not usually that there's, 19 perfect desks and one disorganized one that stands out. I think, and some people are, they're kind of, I'm one of those people where I might not be the most, structured, organized. I'm kind of messy, but I sort of know where everything is. And I think that's also important to keep in mind too, that everybody has a different organizational strategy. And even though somebody might be type A and want everything neat and orderly, there are people that really can kind of still know where things are, even though they can't see it. So in that situation, I feel like it's important to kind of test kids in terms of, well, if they know where it is, ideally, wouldn't it be perfect if everything was in its neat and orderly place? That would be ideal. But if they're still kind of getting by and they can function and they know where things are, then maybe that's just their, organizational strategy is different.
Right, that makes sense. So in this case, this was a year-to-year complaint. But yeah, if the child is managing well and not getting upset, sure. Everyone has their own style. Another question from our community, Keri. I can relate to this. Last year, my soon-to-be first grader lost several jackets, hats, and even a pair of gym shoes. How do I teach him to keep better track of his clothing?
My son's going into first grade this year, and I can't tell you how many times we were driving him to school early in the morning and picking through the lost and found box myself. Yeah. So I totally understand. I think the first thing to do is just make sure that everything is labeled. You can buy sticky labels, you can put your phone number in there, but certainly make sure that everything's labeled, because in the off chance that it does get displaced, that at least a name or a phone number is in there. Or my son had pretty specific stickers that we would put in his clothing, so he knew if there were two things in the lost and found pile that were similar, he definitely knew which one was his. But certainly I think, it's giving kids and kind of preparing for that routine, letting them know when you get to school, their teachers are doing the same thing, I assure you, but your backpack goes on the hook, your coat goes on the hook, take your mittens off, put them in your backpack in this pocket, so that when you go out to recess that where they are. It's hard. Kids are little, and at that age, they get so excited to want to go out and play that they just go.
That is true.
So
maybe we can make up a little song that will help them remind them to do everything. I know with my son when he was in kindergarten, and that was a very long time ago, I had probably gone in for the third or fourth time looking for a hat, and she looked at me straight in the eye and she said, "Mrs. Oswald, a hood."
Yeah,
and a jacket with a hood.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I still remember that. Yeah, it was good advice. All right, another question from our community. My 13-year-old misses the bus often because he can't get himself together in the morning. He gets up on time, but then he can't find anything, plus he changes his clothes several times. Then I have to drive him, drag my toddler along with me. What can I do to help him get out of the house in the morning?
I think a lot of families tend to prepare the night before, so that way, all the clothes are clean, everything's put away in their closet, and the night before, either the night before, or I know some people that actually will set their kids' clothes out a week before, so that they know on Monday I'm wearing this, on Tuesday I'm wearing that, on Wednesday I'm wearing this, so that there's really no guesswork. It's just about kind of getting them up, getting them up and going in the morning and going to the closet and making less choices essentially, so that everything is kind of laid out and organized. I ended up streamlining my son's wardrobe so that basically, because I know a lot of older kids might be different than younger kids. I know this is a question for an older kid, but some kids get really stuck on, I want to wear that specific shirt with that specific, Spider-Man, Superman, Disney princess on it. And they get hung up on that in the morning, and that can make it kind of hard to leave out. But we sort of kind of created our own little uniform where he sort of, he wears different colored polo shirts, but he has like the same shirt that he likes in like maybe 3 or 4 different colors. So there's really not a lot of guesswork, and there's just a little bit more organization. And on Fridays, we kind of give him the choice to wear whatever shirt he wants to wear. But so sometimes just making less options can sometimes make the routine go a little bit faster.
Right. I guess that's one of the pros of school uniforms. I don't know. I
Yes.
know there's a debate about that. I used to have my kids write opinion essays about.
And that's where we came up with it, because he was in a school that did have a uniform, and it was easy because it was like on gym you wore this and on whatever day you wore that. And that's why I said to my husband, I'm like, we're going to make him a uniform.
A lot easier, for sure. Yeah. All right. And I think we have one more question. And the user is asking, how can I help my teenager manage deadlines so that long-term projects don't creep up all at once?
Yeah, I know a lot of times with older kids, it's usually involves a lot of reading. Teachers would say, they're having a hard time kind of managing having to finish this chapter book and then kind of get their book report written. Yeah. I think it's really just trying to figure out what the assignment entails. Is it that they have to read so many pages and then write an essay? Is it that they have to, fill out a paper? But a lot of teachers I know have recommended kind of, just doing a math equation. How many pages are in the book? Dividing the book by so many days, making sure that they're at least reading that many pages per day to kind of get themselves through. When it comes to writing the essay, kind of, going through it, do they do the rough draft first? Are there graphic organizers that they can use to kind of help them collect their thoughts before they sit down and write their essay? But there is a lot of little, tips and tricks involved in kind of just breaking down that one big thing into lots of smaller different components that can be a little bit more easily managed over time. And it's still hard. I mean, I know it's easier said than done. Yes, just read 10 pages and we'll get it all done. And in a perfect world, we'll still have 3 days to write your report. And then somebody gets sick, or, soccer practice runs late, or, life happens, and that makes it hard. But, if there's ways that you can kind of work with your kids to give them an incentive to want to stay on track. I find kids are often, do they get an extra opportunity on the weekend to play a game, or extra time with whatever it is that they like to do as kind of a reward for being motivated and staying focused to get it done. Because it's hard to manage, especially over a long period of time.
Right. Multiple classes too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time. I want to thank you so much, Keri, for being with us. I think there's a lot to chew on here and a lot of good information. I think parents are getting in the right kind of mindset to set their kids up for a successful school year. Mm-hmm. For those of you who have missed any part of this chat, or if you'd like to watch it again, all of our chats are archived at u.org/calendar, so you can watch Keri again at your convenience. You can also write to Keri in our Understood